Alright, so welcome to another one of my comparison videos. Right now we're going to be comparing Combiner Wars Silverbolt with the Fans Project Hands and Feet add-ons. I have not gotten around to doing the head add-on or the chest add-on that would go right in here. Now, the reason why I don't do the chest add-on is personally I like the way his chest looks, and I'm just not really wanting to pay $30 for just a head upgrade. So, unless some other head comes out for cheaper, we're just going to stick with the regular Combiner Warhead for him now. Now, you will notice I've done some silver paint onto Silverbolt, so he is silver when he's in jet and robot mode. The only pieces I left white were his combiner pieces. Alright, so it's just a general look over him. Now, I have done some other spots where I've added some paint to just make things pop a little more. Now, what we're comparing him today to is the KO version of TFC Uranos. I got this from Sir Toys. It just came in the mail today. I've already combined him. Other videos have shown his individual pieces, so I'm not going to bother doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show him next to his Combiner Wars counterpart. Now, you can see obviously how he towers over him, and how that does play a little bit of a factor as to where to put him in your collection. It does put him almost in league with Combiner Wars Devastator, so that's where he's going to be for me, is with Devastator. So that way I've got an Autobot and a Decepticon in roughly the same size class that will fight it out. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the left arm on these Uranoses is not the correct one. It's actually a piece from the Warbitron. It's basically the blast off from Warbitron instead. But it works. Now, one thing you'll have to note on the TFC Uranos figures is there's a couple pieces that are going to come off when you do your combining. And that's just merely, they could be on, but it hinders some of the stuff and makes it not look as good. Now, those pieces I'm talking about is right here, which is the forearms from Blastoff. Those come off, they pop off real easy and go back on. It's a ball joint. If you see, you can see right in there, that little joint pops right in and off. If it ever starts to wear down, then I'll just thicken it up with like either some rubber cement or some furniture polish, or even some nail polish, some clear. Now, when you take those off, it allows these pieces right here to close properly and give them a much better definition on the arm. Now, one of the things I will say on mine that I've seen versus some of the other ones is my legs are tight enough to hold his arms up, and he can hold his weapon still. Now, one thing I've noticed that I've not figured out yet or haven't seen is the feet here on Blastoff do hinder the hand movement and have it pop out a little bit, which makes the hand pop off easily. If I could figure out how to collapse those feet some more or move them out of the way a little bit better, then his hand will stay in place better. Now, the next portion here is the right arm. And the right arm here, the only thing that really gave me problems was these little wings here. Now, they do collapse up and get out of the way in robot mode, but when you're in combined mode, they connect right here, and that does get in the way with this piece right up here. So this here starts hitting on them, and they knock each other out of place. So I decided to just leave the wings off. Now they come on and off. They're really easy to get together, so not really that much of an issue. And those are the pieces that you cannot leave on that will hinder his ability to move his arms. Now, I did not have to take any of the wings or any of the pieces off the legs. Those are completely intact. Now, the next part art on him I'm going to show, the difference is the legs here. See how Combiner Wars has you do them in the front? This is the correct way for Combiner Wars according to Combiner Wars, not according to people who want to make them look more G1. Now, then this here is the correct way of doing it on him. And so you'll see they're very similar. Just this one's a whole hell of a lot bigger. Now, the hands on this guy are not as articulated as my Perfect Effect upgrade kit hands are, but they actually do, I believe, have a peg that's about the same size. So technically, I think I could take these hands and pop them into this, because what it does is it comes with a little joint that's inside of there that has a, I believe it's the 5mm peg or 3.5mm peg, to where you can just plug in a different pair of hands. Now, they do have the fingers and a saddle joint thumb on a ball joint, so they do have a decent amount of posability. So you can use them to grasp things, and he can hold his gun, sword, whatever you want to use it as. I personally prefer to leave it as more of like a straight sword, but you can turn it into a sniper rifle. Now, doing that, he doesn't hold it very well, and the landing gear's got to come out, and that's what he grabs onto. Now, the head on here, I'm not the greatest fan of that head. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to it. Probably think of some way to customize it somehow, or try to find some other head I can put on there. Maybe a shapeways thing, or get something 3D printed. But overall, it's a really good figure, especially since it only costs $50-some. 60, 70, depending on what sort of shipping options you go with as well. But he was a really great figure so far. Now I'm going to go ahead and compare him to some of the other figures I have in my collection. Now, I did mention some other pieces that were off of him. Now, this is meant to be off because this is a weapon. But then also all of his individual weapons. Those, you can technically put in ports all over him. So you could weapon him up, similar to what I've done here, and put the weapons on his ports. Alright, so now the next thing to show is what he looks like with Combiner Wars Devastator. And when you put them right next to each other, they're in roughly the same size class. Top of his head's just a little bit shorter than his, so they're close enough that these guys are both the same size class in my opinion. Now, Superion should be a little bit bigger because he's jets, but these guys are big construction equipment, so I'm going to give Devastator the pass on this one. Now, one thing is, Devastator has a fixed thumb here, which you guys were probably going to be familiar with, and he has the same sort of posability with the fingers. But the fixed thumb does make it a lot harder for him to grasp random objects, whereas the ball joint thumb on this allows him to grasp pretty much anything that you can squeeze in between there, which is why he can still hold his sword and other weapons. So if you look at them side by side, yeah, they pretty much go together. They're going to be together on my shelf. Now, I am going to go ahead and customize and paint up the KO Uranos, just because he's pretty much all white. Like, his legs are the only pieces that are any color other than white. So I'm thinking maybe give him like a actual Blackbird paint style on the Silver Bolt, because it's a Blackbird, not a, I believe, Concorde was the jet he was in the original series. And so I'm going to go ahead, might give him paint job like that, maybe a bluish to kind of look like the X-Men's one. So not sure yet, still got to decide. One of the things that is fun for painting, if you don't have like an airbrush or something, is just good old Sharpies. This guy's been covered in Sharpies, and as you can see on camera, not really noticeable on film. I mean, you can notice it in person, or if you get up really close, you can start to see the lines from where the Sharpie marks were. But at a distance, or just when you're not looking at it straight on, just looking at it, you don't really notice. Now, I've done the same sort of thing here with my menasor, which you guys have seen in other videos, if you've seen any of my videos. And you notice I've done the same thing with his legs, but using the darker black Sharpie, was able to get a much thicker coat, more consistent, and you don't see the lines nearly as much. Now, there are some spots where you can see that I wasn't able to get it because it's a Sharpie tip, and I can only do so much with a Sharpie. Whoop, and I almost had him fall. So, now these guys are on a slick table, so it is a little bit harder to get them to stand up on it. Now, I apologize for that. Now, the weird thing, though, is this was the size box that he came in today. So this little tiny box fit this big giant guy. I was afraid that I only got like 1 or 2 pieces, but nope. Sir Toys are masters of packing everything into a smallest possible box. It all arrived safely, nothing was broken. Some assembly required on pieces, just because some pieces they had disassembled in order to fit them in the box, like the fuselages on the leg jets. Those were both disengaged along with the cockpit. Those parts were not on there. They were just separate, and you just had to snap them on. They're meant to go on and off. It's really easy to do that. So that's going to be it for today. So as you can see how he stacks up next to his Combiner Wars counterpart, and next to his Combiner Wars arch rival. Well, that's it for today. Thank you.